All right, guys, it's Mr. Lamb, and this is the final page of the transformations review. This is page 4, questions 9, 10, and 11. Question number 9 says triangle ABC has vertices at 1, 1, 2.5, 3, and 0, -3. It's dilated by a scale factor of 1/2, about the origin, to create a new triangle. What is the length in units of side B prime C prime? Okay, well, let's find the new values here. So A prime is going to be its scale factor of 1/2. So 1 times 1/2 is 1/2. 1 times 1/2 is 1/2. All right, if I wanted to graph that, so it's right down in there. All right, point B is at 2.5. So half of 2.5 is 1 1/4, or 5/4. And half of 3 is 1 1/2. All right, so 1 1/4 and 1 1/2. And right there. And then point C, half of 0 is 0, half of 3 is negative, half of -3 is -1 1/2. So 0, -1 1/2. That is down in there. All right, so now you start running into how do I find this distance? I've got all these fractions, and it's ugly, and it's nasty, and it's real simple. I just do a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where c is my distance. So again, what is the distance? It is the square root of a squared plus b squared. Okay, a squared is the distance on the x's from B to C. So this distance right here, how far is it from 5/4 to 0? Well, that's 5/4. All right, so I have 5/4, so I have to square. And B, how far is it from positive 1 1/2 to negative 1 1/2? So that's a distance of 3. Okay, so square them. 5/4 squared is 25/16. 3 squared is 9. Let's not square root it. If I add those two things together, and my calculator said it was 73/16. And when you square root this, it comes out to be a decimal point. So I'll give you an approximation. It is about 4.5625. Something right around there for a distance. Again, another tough problem there. That one was not easy. It would be much nicer if we had whole values instead of the 1/2. Maybe if we would have done double everything. And then I could plot those points. It would just make it a lot easier to use that graph. So let's hope on the test that those numbers are a little bit nicer to us. All right, D has the rectangle shown on the coordinate grid. Something you need to focus on here is really paying attention to where my axes are located. Because this rectangle, unfortunately, is not centered. It is not centered at the origin. So if I reflect these points across the x-axis, for example, so I'm going to find the coordinates of this top corner. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the point 3, 4. If I were to reflect this across the x-axis, that means the point 4, 3 would have to be on my graph. And if I look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 out here, it is not on the rectangle. So it is not going to map back onto itself. So A does not work. B, reflect across the y-axis. All right, so this is 1, 2, 3 away. So 1, 2, 3, that corner would come here. That would be okay. The problem is this left corner, all right, this corner back here. If I were to flip it across, it is 4 units away. If I went to 4, it would not land on there because it is not centered and that axis is not directly cutting it in half. The y-axis does not work. Well, I can tell you this, if it does not reflect across the y-axis, 180-degree rotation is automatically out, because a 180 rotation around the origin would mean that it is both reflective across the x and y-axis. So it's not going to work. Also, the point 34 would mean that the point -3, -4 would have to work. And it does, but it's not in the corner. It's not mapping into that corner. So that is bad news for us. 90-degree rotation, that means 4, 3 would have to become the point -3, 4. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right there is not in the corner. Did not get the corner. Does not map onto itself. Dilation of 1. A dilation of 1 does not change anything. So that one does work. And then a dilation of 2 would mean that 3, 4 would become the point 6, 8. And 6, 8 is not on there. So kind of like your quiz. Oh, I'm going to have to go back. It looks like letter A. I'm sorry. Look at that. Letter A does not say reflect across the line y equals x. It says reflect across the x-axis, where 3, 4 would have to become the point 3, -4. So it would flip it down 1, 2, 3, 4, and it does hit that corner. A does work. So if you had A and you just listened to that whole thing, that was because I tried flipping it across the line y equals x, not across the x-axis. So I apologize. Question number 10, A and E should both be your answers there. And the last one, question number 11. This is basically just knowing the two different types of transformation protocol. So if I'm looking at how do I get from the original P to the new P, I go to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I go up 1, 2, 3. So this is actually, if I'm thinking about my translations, left 4 would be -4, up 3 would be +3. That's the typical notation we would use. The other notation we could use is take the points and map them according to an expression. So that -4 means I have x -4, and the +3 means I have y +3. And that's all this problem is saying. It is saying, if you look up here, if I write it in this way, what would go in that A spot? It is x -4. What goes into the B spot? It is y +3. That's just a fancy way for them to ask that type of a question. And that's it. That gets us through the entire review. Don't forget, test is Thursday. If you need to be making a note card or a page of notes or unlimited notes and you're trying to get all that stuff in order, get things highlighted, I think that's a great thing to be doing between now and then. So best of luck in your preparations.